Welcome back to Keegs Custom Builds. Today we have my neighbor's 1988 Toyota 3VZ here. I wasn't expecting to be making a video on this because it was supposed to be just a simple fix. One of the brake lines, he said, was leaking back here somewhere and he wanted us to replace it. But actually, it may have been leaking right here where the giant mud pit is. You can see the fuel pickup would be somewhere under that. Your fuel lines right here for your pickup. They got a nice casing of protective mud on there. And this stuff back here is actually getting worse than my Toyota. So we're gonna be cleaning this all off. We're gonna be fixing this brake line and we're gonna see if there's any holes in that fuel tank. It has some protective coating on there, but who knows what brake fluid sitting in mud does to that stuff. So we're gonna get this all cleaned off and we're gonna see what we can get fixed on here. Now that I have it all nice and power washed off, before I show you what the problem is right there, you can also take a look back here. This is a portioning valve that would have been attached to the portioning valve rod right here, but it's been broken off for so long and just rubbing that it almost rubbed through this brake line right here, which is new. Now let's take a look at this right here. I think I know what the problem is. See here, that's one side of the brake line. Then there's another side right here, which is it seems like usually they would be connected so that the brake fluid wouldn't come out. But I guess this one, they just left it open. Anyway, we're gonna get this stuff fixed. Probably gonna have to fix all these lines here. Might also replace the fuel sender because the fuel pressure is going a little bit low. Anyway, let's get all this stuff put back in the shop over there and fixed up. I was actually just poking around on this a little bit further. So your brake lines come back here. These ones right here, the two broken lines, are actually the old ones that they replaced with these ones right here. But you can see that they're clearly eaten all the way through and leaking all over the place. But what I didn't notice is that you can also patch brake lines with electrical tape and stack them off the frame a little bit with a nut. See, right there? If you space it off the frame with a nut, it doesn't rust out. Super smart. Got all the lights on. You see we got tape covering up the check engine light so we don't have to see that one staying on all the time. There she goes, she starts up first crank. Now that we have it back in the shop, I got everything oiled up that we're gonna be taking out. So all these bolts right here for the pump assembly, gonna be taking that out to see if we can get a new pump on it. But now what I'm gonna be trying to do is breaking these guys loose. That's gonna be a lot of fun because it definitely looks like it's not gonna be coming off. Also gonna have to get these two off. And then I'm also going to try to get these little clamps off of here, off the frame, so that I can put the new lines in it and not space them off the frame with a nut. So that's gonna be quite the job. Let's see if I can get it done. Because of how rusty these lines are right here, I'm just gonna cut it right there so that I can put a socket on there and hopefully it'll come out without rounding over or breaking off or any of that stuff. But of course we have the last resort, the good old-fashioned vice grips, if all that fails. So let me get this cut off and start trying to take it out. And just like that, we got the brake line nuts out. You can see the threads are a lot cleaner than I thought they would be. Anyway, they came out super nice, so we're not gonna have to throw away this portioning valve. We're gonna keep it. Now let's move on to getting the rest of these brake lines out here. So we got this new line made right here, the one that goes from the top of this portioning valve to the axle down there, to the drums. So now I'm making the lines to go from there to there. There's a split underneath there where they splice the lines together somewhere up under there. So that's what we're just going to go off of. We're not going to make an entire new line for the trunk because it goes up and under the body and all kinds of hard angles to get made. So we're just going to replace this short section from there to there. And this is also a line from a spool because they don't sell any sticks that are long enough. So we're just bending it out of that, straightening it out. So now I'm gonna get that bent up and stuck in there. So this right here is how you cut the lines. You tighten up the little knob right there and spin it around a few times until it gets loose again. Go ahead and tighten it back up and just keep going around like that till it's eventually cut through. And then I'll show you how to deburr the inside edge of it once you get done cutting it, and then also flare it so it fits the little ends correctly. You deburr the end of the tube with a little drill bit like this right here. You stick it in the end, and this takes 2 hands. Spin it like that a few times till the burr is gone, and then you'll be all ready to start flaring it. Now that you got the end of your line deburred, you take these blocks right here. They are the 4mm size, and you would take the other one and clamp it on the other side of this. But just to show you, you're supposed to have the end of the tube flush with the top of this block so that your depth is correct for when you flare it. So I'm gonna get this stuck in the gun and show you what to do next. Now that it's in the crimping tool, what you're gonna use is this first one right here. You can see that it has a little nipple in the end. This keeps the same inner diameter as the tubing, and it just smashes it out. You can see it's got a bevel in there. It smashes it up so that you can later use this one and put the correct inner bevel on. So it just goes in there like this. Turn the valve on. And you're also going to want to make sure that you line up that nipple with the inside of that tube, or else you could just smash it sideways. So I'm going to put the camera down and get that lined up. Okay, now it's lined up in there. You're just going to crimp it. Make sure that the tube doesn't slide out while you're doing this, so you make sure you get this plenty tight. Just keep smashing it down until it stops moving, like that. And then release this right here. Pull this die out. Now you can see in there how it's beveled, or how it smashed it. So now we're going to use this one right here to put the inner bevel on it. So just drop it in like that. Tighten your valve back up. You're going to have to line this one up too to make sure that it goes in the center correctly. Now that it's lined up correctly in the center, you're going to crimp this one down. You have to be a little bit careful on this one though, so you don't smash it out of shape. So just go until you feel some slight resistance like that. You can still keep going further, but you don't want to. So you release it back up, check it, and you can see it has a good inner bevel now, just like these guys right here. So this is where you're going to want to stop, and always make sure you practice putting these nuts on the line first, because if you already crimped that end and then you crimp this end, you'd have to cut it off and redo it to put this nut back on. So now we're going to take it out of there and put it on the portioning valve. We are now under the Toyota here and have the new line on the right, the old line on the left. Since replacing this entire line all the way to the front would be a real nightmare, as it goes up and down and all over the place in there, we're just going to be using these compression fittings. These are Union inline fittings here, and I'll show you how these work here in a second. So they come apart like this, and the way you put them together is you take the nut here, slide it on up onto your line. You're also going to want to make sure that you deburred that and that it's clean, so there isn't any stuff to go back into the cylinders to ruin seals. Take this guy, it's called a ferrule. Slide that onto there. A little bit of a pain because it's pretty tight. Now that's on there. You're going to want to take the center section, and when you put it on there, you're going to want it to butt all the way up in there. You'll feel it stop. And then you slide that ferrule up, slide the nut up, and you'll tighten it. The one I have right here is 3/8 for the center and a 7/16 for the outer nut. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up. You're going to want to get these pretty tight, but what you do first is you loosen it, tighten it, and you'll feel it cinch up further and further. And then when it feels like it doesn't go any further, just tighten it up and leave it there. So now I'm going to get this other side put on, and we'll connect the lines. Now we have the line all put together. I'm going to finish up the other one off video, and then I'm going to get all this stuff bent up and out of the way, and then show you what it looks like once I get done. I got all the lines plumbed in on the truck right there. I'll show you them in a minute. But what we're working on right now are the bed bolts. See, this is what they're supposed to look like. This is what the rest of them look like. That's the only one that came off successfully. I had to plasma cut the rest of them off. Super gnarly. And now I'm knocking them out of the tabs. We're gonna weld those tabs onto some new bolts we got right here. These are standard, so they're cheaper. Metric is super expensive. So we're gonna weld them right around the edge right there on the inside, just a little bit, grinding it down maybe, and then we'll use these as the new bed bolts. Now I have the bolts welded on there. This is just what I meant, one weld on each side, so you can still use a wrench on it if you need to. So now I'm gonna put these in the truck. Well, I got everything finished up on it a little bit ago, and we're about to be dropping it off with the customer. So I'm gonna finish up the video. You're not gonna be able to see it, really, but all the brake lines are finished up in there. We stuck the bed back on it. It's all looking good. I drove it back last night. It was working perfectly good. The brakes weren't being weird or anything back there. We also fixed the portioning valve. You can see right there, it was snapped off. We welded on a rod down to the arm on the axle, and that works correctly now. It was just hanging down and rubbing on that brake line. So that's fixed, and now it's ready to go. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to Keegs Custom Builds. Keeg out.